Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to Sofa Reviews. Today we're watching Ocean's 12.
Released in 2004, it's the sequel to Ocean's 11, the 2001 remake of a 1960s movie.
So we start with Brad Pitt as Rusty returning to Catherine Zeta-Jones.
This is 3 years previously. She's a detective and she's close to catching a criminal who's clearly Rusty.
I'm just gonna have a shower. Don't let me keep you up.
From 3 years ago, we now move to 3.5 weeks ago, where Danny Ocean is doing his best to look suspicious.
You know, I was once in a vault while I was being robbed.
After being shown the horrors of retiring with millions, the plot finally kicks in the form of Terry Benedict.
There's water in the basement and the pilot light is out.
Hang up.
And because he's a loving husband, the moment he realises a vicious mobster type is with his wife, he abandons her.
We then get to see a montage of Terry tracking down the original members of the team.
So now we're at the first Thursday, which is presumably 3.5 weeks later, also known as today.
They work out how much they owe Terry, because he didn't tell them.
Having worked out they need 97 million in 2 weeks, they suddenly decide to question Benedict's ability to track them down.
Of course, there's no time for that, as they've got to go to Amsterdam. Rusty tells Bernie Mac's character not to tell the others about his cop ex-girlfriend.
Well, it's not as if she's going to be a thorn in their sides.
And now they're in Amsterdam, Rusty shows that he's moved on with his life by stalking his ex-girlfriend.
And because she's so wretchedly ugly, she hasn't been able to get a boyfriend in the last 3 years.
So now they have 11 days left, but it's not really worth keeping up with time in this film.
They go to meet Robbie Coltrane, and this scene of them talking absolute bollocks seems to sum up the entire film.
Hey, maybe that's why I've been feeling so warm recently.
So after that irrelevant nonsense, they now have a job to do.
Which is good, because it's really difficult and doesn't earn them much money.
The house is extremely well protected.
Nice to see our heroes are okay with stealing from disabled people.
Am I the only one who feels funny about stealing from a, handicapped guy?
I don't care.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Wow, criminals don't care about other people. I'm so glad this film was here to teach us that.
After some work, they realise their plan is impossible and go for a walk.
Until they come up with the perfectly reasonable solution of lifting the house so that they can shoot an arrow in.
They do this using scuba diving gear, pumps and machinery to lift up the house, and a submarine.
I'm sure they just picked it up from a car boot sale.
It then cuts to Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's talking about the most important person in the plot.
Though he left behind a slew of imitators, only one is worth mentioning in the same breath as Lamarck. The thief we know only as the Night Fox. So named for the small onyx figurines he leaves behind to taunt us, the Night Fox must be considered our #1 priority.
Yeah, forget about the murderers, drug dealers, human traffickers and paedophiles. This guy who steals paintings is clearly the source of all evil.
She's called away to the crime scene and she immediately spots a boot print left by the master criminals.
And as she's meant to be some form of badass, she instantly works out how they did it.
No innocent possible shot. Until they raise the building.
This causes her to reminisce about her relationship with Rusty.
Because she told him the trick, and so there's no way anyone else could know about it.
Presumably, this is why she's certain the Americans did this.
Although it turns out they were beaten to it by the Night Fox, so they decide to leave a big industrial drill behind as a gift.
This leads Rusty to somehow work out that the Night Fox must have been the one that told Benedict.
I hired Matsui, and Matsui hired you.
It's the guy who dimed us to Benedict.
So having closed the plot hole of how Benedict managed to find them, we open the much larger plot hole of how the guy with no knowledge of them, who lives on a different continent, managed to find them.
Anyway, Wonder Cop works it all out and brings Robbie Coltrane in for questioning.
Having told him that he's fat, she decides to get cocky about the fact that she can insult people with low self-esteem.
She then arrests Bernie Mac and finds out where the others are.
And of course, she knows that Rusty has been spying on her, and even got someone to take photos of him doing this. I'm amazed Europe isn't a crime-free utopia at this point.
She then gives them some odd advice about the Night Fox.
Find out how you offended him. Apologize. Beg for mercy.
He's a master thief, not a mob boss or a murderer. What's he gonna do? Steal your watch?
Anyway, like any good police officer, she steals Rusty's phone while they're all off out looking for the Night Fox.
While they're waiting at a train station, we do at least get one mildly amusing bit in this film.
How old do you think I am?
48.
I think I'm 48 years old.
52.
They still somehow manage to figure out who the Night Fox is, though.
So after telling us how incredible this guy is as a thief, our heroes have stolen some of his paintings.
Danny meets up with the Night Fox, who explains why he set all of this up.
I guess the only way to know who's the best of us, for sure, is to go after the same object. Do the same job, don't you think? That would be fun.
You're being awfully cavalier with a lot of people's lives so you can play out a game.
Yeah, take moral advice from the criminal who abandoned his wife.
After explaining that they're going to steal the Fabergé egg, we cut back to Catherine Zeta-Jones.
She has a fairly pointless chat with Eddie Izzard because Rusty, the master criminal, doesn't have time to cancel his stolen mobile phone.
We cut to Catherine Zeta-Jones in a car talking to her boss until she spots a sign with the Fabergé egg, causing her to guess that that's the next target.
Okay, one, she'd have been able to see that sign for ages before the bike showed up only to leave again, and two, as an agent of Europol, surely she'd know about the movements of priceless works of art.
With this information, she sums up the plot to her superior, who gives a perfectly reasonable response.
This is ridiculous. You say the egg will be stolen, then you say Lemarque already stole 24 years ago. Which one is it?
Both.
What?
Lamarck's wife made him put the egg back.
Yeah, because you know how much women hate pretty things. And how would she know that anyway?
So our heroes go along with their plan, along with Eddie Izzard's addition, a hologram.
Okay, when did you leave the message?
2 days ago? She had your phone.
Well, it's a good thing Rusty didn't cancel his phone or tell the others about it, because now they're going to hate him.
Elsewhere, and Catherine Zeta-Jones is forging her boss's signature so that she can get more police powers. I'd like to think that the writers put this scene in as a way of showing that there's a slippery slope when it comes to personal vendettas and trying to take the law into your own hands.
Or they just suddenly forgot how to write Super Cop.
She gets a video from the Night Fox showing them all stealing the paintings, and she's ready to arrest most of them.
After getting prank called by the Night Fox, Danny stays up with Rusty, getting drunk before their complex heist.
We then get a montage of them all getting arrested, and we get to watch the Night Fox stretching.
Only 3 of them escape, leading Matt Damon to call Julia Roberts for the most infamous part of this film.
Yep, Julia Roberts plays Julia Roberts. I can't think of anything good about this one.
It's the role she was born to play.
Oh wait, it brings Bruce Willis into the film. That's always a plus.
And to make this bit longer and even more tedious, the woman, who's been married to a criminal, lived off the profits of crime for 3 years, suddenly now has a problem with crime.
It's just wrong.
They all get arrested, which sadly means Bruce Willis has to leave the film.
As they're all arrested, the film sadly doesn't turn into a gritty and harrowing drama on prison rape, and they're arrested by the FBI.
He wants you on the next flight to Amsterdam. There seems to be some irregularity with your paperwork.
It turns out the FBI woman is Matt Damon's mother, so they can all escape.
Super Cop goes after Rusty instead of facing criminal charges for forging her boss's signature, only to end up running into more tedious crap.
Father's alive, is he?
Oh.
Rather than face justice or question that the criminals might be lying to her, she gets on the plane.
We also see Danny visit the Night Fox to find out how he stole the egg.
Luckily for the Night Fox, he can see lasers, and he dances his way past them.
And why should the fact that's not how laser security systems work get in the way of a French man dancing?
Danny then explains that Lamarck helped him get the Fabergé egg 2 days before the Night Fox broke into the museum.
As it turns out, all he needed to do was switch bags with a guy on a train.
Having been told he stole the replica, Night Fox gets very upset and tells Danny to leave.
And I stole the replica?
Although he broke into the museum when they couldn't and managed to steal it without getting arrested, so surely he's still the better thief.
And finally we get to see Catherine Zeta-Jones meet her father, who is of course Lamarck.
Where the hell have you been?
Waiting.
Well, it's not like I was going to leave all this luxury just to see my daughter.
Benedict gets paid off, and the movie finally ends. In conclusion, there are things that I do like about this movie. At the very start we get to see a perfect scene where Brad Pitt's character Rusty is introduced, as well as Catherine Zeta-Jones' character is introduced. We know exactly what they're there for, we know exactly why they're acting the way they're acting. It works really well. With Brad Pitt escaping the scene quickly, we know what his character's all about, we know what he's trying to do. With Catherine Zeta-Jones, we know exactly why she's after him, without even realising it's him at the time. There are some fun moments with Matt Damon's character, mainly him being taken the mickey out of just for being pretty naive. However, he does come into his own and actually works rather well as a bit of a protagonist at one part. In fact, as a general thing throughout the movie, it's nice that there is no real one protagonist like the first movie. It jumps from character to character and we get to see a much better variety of who they are and why they're there. We even root for the villains at some point, because they're part of the show as well. Including one area where the Night Fox himself shown to be dancing amongst the lasers, dodging them. While implausible and very unlikely to work in real life, it is entertaining and quite fun in its own right. And also, it's always fun to get cameos from Eddie Izzard and Bruce Willis.
Who has got my bloody money?
This film is really smug and annoying. It thinks it's really intelligent, but the longer you look at it, the more it falls apart. Firstly, how did the Night Fox get into the house that they had to raise? That's never explained. He also knew they were coming to leave them the gift, therefore he must have been watching them from the start, which makes no sense as to how he didn't realise that they did the switch on the train. I know that they're criminals, but surely if you want to have a competition to see who's the best at being a thief, you would leave the other guys alone. It's got to be a fair competition so you can truly say you're the best. We have the scene with the Night Fox stretching while the others are getting ready to carry out their heist, but at that point he'd already stolen the egg, so that was just a complete waste of time. It has a very disappointing resolution. They just go off to Lamarck and he fixes it for them, which is pretty much like just running off to his parents and telling on him and getting them to fix it all for you. It's never explained how they get away with the criminal charges, what with trying to steal the egg, and of course Catherine Zeta-Jones with forging her boss's signature, and the bit with the FBI agent as Matt Damon's mother. It's never really explained whether she is actually an FBI agent or if it's all an elaborate con, whether it was part of the plan that she'd be there or whether it's pulled together at the last minute. It just seems poorly written out at the last minute to pull them out of a hole that they've got themselves into for no real reason, because they didn't need to get arrested because they already had the egg. Finally, we have the thing where Julia Roberts plays Julia Roberts, which totally collapses when it's like, well, does anyone notice that Rusty looks a bit like Brad Pitt? Does anyone notice how Linus looks a bit like Matt Damon?
Matt Damon!
Does anyone notice how Danny Ocean looks a lot like fuck this film?